It's extraordinary, right? Satoshi gave such a gift to the world, right? What are the odds that you would engineer something like this, release it into the world, have it take hold, and then the founders walk away and leave it as a gift to humanity?
Incredible. And we fixate a lot on Satoshi, and I have nothing but gratitude for whoever this person is. But there's so much work that went into that to get to that moment as well, to get to what Satoshi was able to do. There's a whole background of engineering and science and experimentation and testing to get us to this point. So we constantly the spirit of this is what's most interesting, and the fact that the spirit maintains and grows. And I would just characterize that the spirit is like this questioning curiosity and doing the work to figure out the answers, that keeps going back into the code base, and it keeps going back into the operations. So everyone benefits from that. Everyone can learn something from Bitcoin, even if you don't like it as a monetary system, as an asset. If you hate it, there's some lesson there that applies to anything that you currently do in the world, guaranteed.
Yeah, I'm stunned by this idea of humanity cooperating with the best intentions in a fair, ethical way in order to engineer a better future. And how often do you see that?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, so on that subject, that's a great segue. Let's talk about Bitcoin and Block. What does Bitcoin mean to Block? Tell me about your products, the markets you serve, and the strategy that you're pursuing with regard to Bitcoin at Block.
Yeah, just a little history here to provide context for why Bitcoin has become important to us. So we started. It was called Square. We just recently changed our name. We started Square we had the idea around end of 2008, and started in earnest building a prototype in 2009 January, which is around the same time that a lot of energy in the financial industry was happening. You had Stripe start, you had the Bitcoin white paper, and Satoshi working to the point to release the code and the Genesis block. All during that time, you had the end of this massive bank failure and just so much greed and corruption on display, which was never held accountable for, and we still live with today. So it was a very interesting time for finance or financial technology. There was just a lot of energy happening, and we happened to recognize a problem, which was more and more of the US was moving to paying with plastic card. And this is great for individuals because it's convenient. There's a lot of negatives, obviously, with the credit card industry, but the convenience and the speed was amazing. The problem was the sellers could not accept credit cards. And when we first thought about this, we just thought, okay, we're building a credit card reader for small sellers to use. We didn't realize that was just the tip of the iceberg. The real issue was that these folks were being denied from the merchant acquirer, from the bank itself, to even accepting credit cards because outdated technologies to vet them. And so there was a flower cart underneath my apartment where we started the company, and she got denied 3 times to accept credit cards. And that meant she had to stay with cash. And that meant every single time someone didn't have cash and tried to pay with a credit card, she lost the sale. So we realized in the first 6 months, it wasn't about accepting a credit card. It wasn't about building credit card hardware. It was about helping a seller make the sale. That was it. Participate in the economy. And that's how our company grew, is how do we build tools to enable people to simply participate in the economy? And if we can do that, then how do we help them grow and thrive in the economy as well? So we started with Square on the credit card reader. We built the point of sale because it helped them make decisions. We started lending people money so they could buy a new salon chair, so they could double their business. We created this thing that we wanted to use, Cash App, to transfer money because we had the money rails now. We did it in a very innovative way by forcing the money through a refund onto a debit card. So it was instantaneous, and anyone with a debit card could utilize it. And we actually tried to integrate Bitcoin in 2014. We enabled any buyer on our online stores for our sellers to pay with Bitcoin. We saw very, very few transactions, so it didn't really go anywhere. But we took it up again in earnest with Cash App because we found a vehicle that actually made sense. We started with a very simple model of exchange and buy and sell. We initially, when I first worked on the Hack Week project with a guy named Mike Brock, we had it so that I could store Bitcoin in my Cash App account and then pay with a cash card, and it would auto convert to the merchant into fiat. But we thought it more important to have some sort of psychological break on it. So actually selling it, indicating that I want to pay in fiat was far better than just blindly selling or blindly spending a Bitcoin at the time, especially because transaction fees were quite low. And we did all this in Cash App when we were a newly public company, about a year into being public, maybe a year and a half. We were the first public company to talk with the SEC about Bitcoin and what it meant for us and what it meant for the world. It challenged absolutely everything. It challenged our security protocols. It challenged legal compliance, engineering, product, everything. And even if the product flopped, even if Bitcoin did nothing for Cash App, I'm so grateful that we did it because we learned so much about who we were and who we are and what we're capable of. Because it was an immense amount of work in a very short time frame with significant challenges. So since then, we've continued to pull the thread. We're looking for opportunities to help sellers. We have a lot of sellers on Cash App as well, so they're already utilizing it in some ways, especially as we just integrated Lightning into Cash App. We acquired a music company called Tidal. We acquired it because we didn't believe that artists were getting the right tools to participate in the economy in the same way that sellers weren't getting the right tools to participate in the economy. There's a lot there. You look at everything happening in NFTs, the spirit of it in terms of answering the questions about how artists get paid, there's something there. The manifestation and the implementation, I think, is completely wrong at the moment. We created a open source unit called Spiral, 5, 6, 7 open source individuals who don't get block stock. We pay them in Bitcoin. They get to work on whatever they want as long as they're making they're advancing Bitcoin, they're protecting Bitcoin, they're making it stronger. And they created a development kit called Lightning LDK, or Lightning Development Kit LDK, which allows wallets all over the world to easily integrate Lightning without having to think too much about it. Cash App uses it. It was one of my proudest moments. We started this open source entity as a company, knowing full well that we would probably never get anything back from it. That was not our desire. We had no idea what they were going to do. And in just 2 years, one of our biggest businesses is using what they created. So I think it's a fantastic lesson in terms of doing more open source as corporations. And then finally, we have a new organization called TBD, which is a platform for Bitcoin, specifically a distributed exchange to enable more and more people around the world to get into Bitcoin in a way that the current models don't really allow for. It's still very hard if you're outside the US, Europe, to get Bitcoin, to get onto the network, to participate in the first place. So TBD will be building a distributed exchange that makes it easy for developers to build exchanges all over the world and create on-ramps from fiat into Bitcoin. And once people are on Bitcoin, then we have so many tools to empower people more into the economy.